I hope everybody is able to see the screen. So as I discussed, so today's topic is about how to authenticate to your Kubernetes cluster using a Keystone third-party component. Okay, this Keystone is something which is related to OpenStack. Let me draw a diagrams like how we are going to set up this particular authentication mechanism. So right now we are going to set up OpenStack Keystone. Okay, so let us take this particular node. Okay, and let's say assume that this particular node IP address is 192.168.1.120, or let's say 130, whatever it is. Okay, now 130 it is actually. It's okay. 192.168.1.130. And on this, I have installed Ubuntu. I will be installing Ubuntu 18.04 version, that is LTS Server Edition. Okay, that is the next step which we are going to do. And after that, now we need to install OpenStack Keystone component. Okay, OpenStack Keystone component. So which is also called as identity service. If you try to compare this with AWS or any other cloud providers, in AWS we have identity access management, IAM. Okay, so which is unique for all the regions and all. So what does it mean? So you will create a user in that particular IAM, and what are the permissions, what are the policy you will assign to that particular user? Only those services he can access, and whatever the actions you have enabled in that particular policy, only those actions he can perform in that particular as a user. Okay, similar to that, if you want to set up your own own cloud environment, OpenStack is one of the community which is an open source. Actually, OpenStack itself is an open source where you can build your own cloud setup. Okay, in that Keystone is one of the component. So since we are using only authentication and authorization mechanism in Kubernetes, I want to use only OpenStack Keystone. I am not worried about other components. Why? Because I am purely concentrating on this particular component. Okay, I am using this particular component in my Kubernetes cluster to set the authentication mechanism. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do right now. Now let's say I have another VM. This is a cluster. This is my Kubernetes cluster right now. So can others please go on mute after you have joined. Thank you. Please go on mute. Actually, it's creating background noise. So this is my Kubernetes cluster. Okay. In this, I took two nodes. One is master and one is worker node. Okay, I have only two nodes cluster it is. Now I want to use Kubernetes authentication using OpenStack Keystone component. Now let us try to set up this particular Keystone OpenStack Keystone component, because you are completely new to this environment, right? So that's the reason I just want to show you from scratch. After the setup was done, then I will show you how to utilize this particular component for our Kubernetes authentication and authorization mechanism. Okay, so it is completely new for you guys. Okay, so that's the reason I just want to show it. If not, I would have done this setup already and I would have shown directly how to do it. Okay, that will save a lot of time for me as well. But anyways, keeping that aside, let me try to restore the snapshot base operating system. I have so many snapshots. Okay, so that reason, like, I can do it from scratch. This VM is having 4 GB of RAM. Okay, it is having Wi-Fi. It is using bridge network. And how many core CPUs you have? I think it is only one. That is more than enough for this VM. System processor. Yeah, one CPU is more than enough for this. Okay, so this is my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I have already restored my snapshots, which is like container D. Okay, so that is enough for me. So Kubernetes setup, I'm not going to show you because you already know that. Okay, so that's the reason I just want to jump into it. So these are the three VMs which I'm going to use. 1, 2. These two are for Kubernetes clusters, and this is for OpenStack Keystone component setup. Okay. So let me try to spin up this VM first, and let us try to do the OpenStack setup. Okay. You can follow the official document. No need of any other third-party documents and all. You can directly follow the official document. I'll tell you how to follow that. I'll give you the links as well. See, at the end of the video, when I share this particular videos and documents, I will share all the links which are needed for you to set up and understand. Okay. In order to do the setup of OpenStack, you need to go to the official document called docs.openstack.org. Okay. If you see here, we have different versions of OpenStack actually. Okay. So here I'm using Stain version. Okay. So I don't want to use Victoria or Isri, which is a new current release. Even I don't want to use Strain. I want to use a Stain version. Since I believe it's a stable version right now. So that's the reason I just want to use it. So in the Stain, when you open this particular document, when you select Stain, so this entire page will show the contents related to Stain version of OpenStack. Okay. Then which document you need to use? Installation guides. Just click on this. Okay. And then OpenStack installation guide. See, these are the components which are supported by this particular OpenStack Stain release. So these are the components which are supported. You can see here. Okay. Application catalog service, bare metal service, block service. Okay. Cinder. In AWS, it is called as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. Okay. Cluster service, compute in the sense instance, EC2. Okay. So horizon dashboard in the sense your OpenStack dashboard. There it is called as like open for AWS we have its own dashboard, right? Similar to that. So every component, but is not as popular as AWS because AWS provides lot of services. OpenStack only provides few services. But if you want to build your own cloud environment, then you have to go for this open source OpenStack. Okay. Just click on this link. Click on environment, then go to the OpenStack packages. Okay. Now scroll down. You are using Ubuntu operating system, right? So that's the reason we have to go to this particular link and just try to access. Meanwhile, let me log into the VM. This will be open in the next tab. I think I already spinned up the VM. Yeah. Let me log in.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was new to the OpenStack. May I know what is the OpenStack?
See, OpenStack is a cloud environment setup. Okay. If you are using AWS is one of the cloud provider, Azure is one of the cloud provider, and Google Cloud is one of the cloud provider. So these are like something you are paying and using it. Okay. So how much you use, for that you need to pay for it. Okay. Let's say you want to build your own cloud and you want to sell it to the clients. Okay. And you want to maintain it. So in order to do that, you need to have something open source, right? You cannot pay, you cannot use AWS, something which you need to pay. I want to build my own cloud. So then OpenStack is one of the open source tool. There are so many contributors to this particular OpenStack. We have so many stable versions and all. So you can build your own OpenStack environment and you can make it as a cloud provider. Okay.
It's a complete open source, right?
Complete open source, nothing to be paid. No license key, nothing. You need to build your own environment. Okay. Here I am trying to build my OpenStack only on one node. Why? Because I am doing only Keystone. Only I am using Keystone component. I am not installing any other component. Okay. So that's the reason I took.
If I'm building your own cloud environment, other people can use.
Yes, of course. If you make it public, means if your URL is publicly accessible, you can create some users, roles to them, and then you can give the access to the users. You can sell it to them.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Here the advantage is like you will know the troubleshooting part and all. You will know the backend tools and all. In AWS, when there is some issue with the EC2 instances spinning up and all, you will raise a ticket to the AWS, but you will never get a chance to troubleshoot it. Right? It's highly impossible. For us also, even to troubleshoot it is highly impossible because we don't know their environment. Right? Now, this environment is built by you. You know how it is working, how the structure is built, and you know how to troubleshoot it. Right? That's how it is. Okay. So that is a simple explanation of OpenStack. Any other questions, please?
And then I want to know the today agenda because I was new to this. You made some keystone, right?
Yeah, Keystone is for authentication and authorization. You know authentication and authorization, right? Which
Yeah.
is for OpenStack. Now we are using that OpenStack Keystone authentication mechanism to your Kubernetes. Why? Because Kubernetes doesn't have any inbuilt username password based authentication, right? So we are using that Keystone for our Kubernetes to use username password based authentication, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yes.
Sudhir,
Yeah.
Sudhir, that OpenShift is same to this Kubernetes.
OpenStack is using, say, OpenShift is using their own authentication mechanism. They're building in the same way, or they built their own, they develop their own authentication mechanism. Okay, but it is a similar way of it.
We can able to do now after we know the Kubernetes, then we support to do that.
I don't know about OpenShift actually. I don't know about OpenShift,
Okay.
but I know the architecture and how it works. But I never
Okay.
built OpenShift. I'm new to
Okay.
that actually.
I did my friend's project. Some doubts he asked. I clarified that.
Okay. I never
But
knew about OpenShift, but I'm not the right person to talk about it more. So let me try to build OpenStack on this. So let me check the internet connectivity so that I will not face any trouble in the middle of the installation. So it's working fine. IP addresses, you can see 192.168.1.130, right? So in this, we are trying to build OpenStack. And yeah. So first thing, what you need to do. First, which version you are using, based on that, you need to execute the command. I'm using OpenStack stain for Ubuntu 18.04, right? I'm using Ubuntu 18.04. So that's the reason I just need to use this particular command. And I want to install stain version. I don't want to use anything in Rockies, Queen, or Pike or something. Okay. So just execute this command. Enter. For this, we can write Ansible playbook to do this installation automatically, or we can install OpenStack on Kubernetes setup itself. Okay. There are Helm charts, but I don't want to show it right now. So people without knowing OpenStack manual installation, they cannot understand the architecture. So that's the reason. So this is creating a repository so that you can install the OpenStack stain packages. Okay, so that's the reason. Once this is done, just do an update and dist upgrade. So whenever you would do a dist upgrade, if the kernel version has been upgraded, automatically you have to do a reboot. Okay, so without doing reboot, you should not go for the further installation. So after this, what I will do, I know that this like Linux kernel is getting upgraded, so I will try to reboot the system. Okay, you can see initially it is using 112, now it is upgrading to 115 minor version. So I just want to reboot the system after this. So tomorrow's session will be like how to use Containerd as a backend solution for your Kubernetes container runtime interface. Till now I've shown you for all the guys like Docker as a solution. Like for Kubernetes, Docker as a solution for creating the containers. Now it's not like that. We can use Containerd directly instead of Docker. So that will reduce the latency and all. So you'll have a lot of advantages. So we'll discuss tomorrow and we will see how to do a setup of it.
Yeah, how many masters you're creating for your node?
Which one?
For Kubernetes, I'm
One
asking.
master and one slave. That's it.
Okay, though it's a higher availability, right?
It's
You
not
can
high
create
availability. It's not high availability.
because Sudhir said like that. If one master is down, and then another master will be up, like working on active mode. The remaining master will be in the passive mode, like that he
High
said.
availability setup will be on the next week. So let's say you have 3 master nodes and 4 or 5 worker nodes, and then we will do the high availability setup of Kubernetes cluster. Okay.
Okay.
Right now
Yeah,
we are
right.
using only one master and one worker node, which means that if your first master node is down, you cannot access your Kubernetes cluster. Okay. So you need to find an alternative solution by setting up high availability. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sudhir itself is me, right? So
Sorry. Is there any requirement for RAM, like should be 16 GB
I
RAM,
took
like that?
4 GB. That is enough, more than enough for OpenStack VM. Because you're installing only one component. That component doesn't occupy, doesn't need more amount of RAM. Okay.
Okay.
When you're keep on increasing the services, when you're installing more components, then automatically to run these many applications, it needs more RAM. So right now it's okay. 4 GB is more than enough for us.
Right now we are using Ubuntu as CentOS and then OpenStack, right?
No, I've shown you, right? I'm using Ubuntu 18.04.
Okay.
I've clearly shown you like what is a version which I'm using.
Keystone service will be giving the privileges to the users to do the administrative operation. To do
Sorry, come
and
again.
Keystone service will be giving authentication to the users to do the administration operations on the.
It depends upon the role which you assign. It depends upon the role which you assign. If you don't provide the complete role, he cannot do all the operations, right? He can do only limited operations. So it all depends upon the policy or like RBAC which you try to apply. Okay. Let me try to reboot the system since there is an upgrade in the kernel. Once it's booted up, then I need to log in once again. I think I executed this. Oh, init 0. Okay. I would have executed init 6. Actually, it will reboot the system. I forgot.
Init 0 means exit.
It will shut down. It will shut down the VM. Yeah.
Okay.
And it should be executed only from the root user. Init 6 is nothing but it will reboot.
Okay. And then init 6?
Yeah, init 6 itself. It will reboot the system. Init 0 is nothing but it will shut down the VM.
Okay.
So we have the numbers from 0 to 6. Every number has its own functionality. Okay, so these are called as init scripts. You can read about it in Linux documents. Init 3 is for server like terminal. Init 5 is for graphical user interface. That's how it is. Let me log into the VM. I hope it is up. Yeah. Once it is done, then you need to install this particular Python OpenStack client package. If you want to interact to the OpenStack, okay, so you have to install this particular package. So without having OpenStack client package, you cannot interact with the OpenStack. So just install. It's a Python utility. Okay. Once this is done, let's try to install SQL database. Why we need SQL database for OpenStack Keystone component is nothing but in the entire OpenStack setup, what are the component you try to install? All those informations will be stored in the SQL database. Okay. What kind of SQL you use, it's up to you, but we have to use relational database. We should not use non-relational database for this setup. So in this, the recommended one is MariaDB. Okay, here we are trying to install MariaDB. Either you can install MySQL as well or PostgreSQL as well. Okay, you can see read this particular paragraph. You will try to understand it. Okay, so database is to store the entire OpenStack related information, so that anytime you can fetch the data and you can store the data as well. Okay, so let me try to open. So since I'm using Ubuntu, install and configure the components. Okay, here this is the component. So let us try to install this OpenStack. You can see here we are trying to install MariaDB. This OpenStack is entirely developed on Python. Okay, so that's the reason you will see a lot of Python packages which will get installed. So in order to OpenStack to communicate to the MySQL database, we are using Python developed MySQL module actually. Okay, so this is the package which we are installing. Once you install this, OpenStack will able to communicate using Python language to the MySQL database. Okay, that's how it is.
So they in real time, is it the OpenStack setup
Can
will be
you
similar to what you are doing now?
I'm not able to hear you. Can you please put your mic?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
So in real time, this OpenStack setup will be similar to what you're doing now, or will be the certificates
I
involved?
suggest you to install Helm charts. You can install this particular Kubernetes setup on your your OpenStack Keystone setup in the Kubernetes setup itself. Okay, no need to install as a separate node. Now it is possible actually. I told you right, in our organization we are installing entire OpenStack setup on the Kubernetes cluster itself. So this one component you can install. Okay. So why to put it on a separate node? When you are installing on the same node itself, make it as so the interaction will be much faster. There will be no latency in the communication or authentication. So that will be better, right? Instead of putting on a separate node.
So that will be installed as a pod, and
yeah, it will be installed as a pod. Now it is running as a server, VM virtual machine or bare meter server. There it will be running as a pod. Okay.
But that pod needs to be baked by some kind of a database.
Availability. Database is needed. You need to install database. You need to install Memcache server, RabbitMQ, and then you need to install this Helm chart related to Kubernetes. Sorry, Keystone.
Got it.
So you'll get a lot of documents actually. OpenStack officially they have released the Helm charts. You can read and you can try to deploy it. Okay.
Thanks.
Manually, if you know this, then it is easy to understand what we are trying to do using Helm charts. So that's the reason I preferred this right now. Maybe down the line, maybe after a few months or something, I will try to create a video on that as well, so that you can watch it. Okay.
We look forward to that. Thanks.
Yeah. Syed, you know, right? This OpenStack setup and all. Who in our batch? Someone already knows this. You or someone else?
It's Zaid who used to work on this.
He's not there now.
No, he's not. I think
you are
too
in
late for
IST
him.
time, right?
I'm currently staying in India, but I'm from Dublin. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe those people are like it's already they're running out of time. Maybe they are not born.
Yeah.
People who already knows about OpenStack, I think for them it will be like red carpet to them. So. It's almost done. Once it is done, then we need to install MySQL. So these are like prerequisites. Before installing Keystone, you have to install OpenStack packages, then SQL database, then Memcache, then message queue, RabbitMQ. Once this is done, etcd is not required. You can directly install OpenStack Keystone. So these are like prerequisites. Now we are in the prerequisite stage. Okay. I have written Ansible playbooks as well, but it is for older version. It is for kilo version actually. After that, I never get a chance to write an Ansible playbook. So if you want, I can just give as a reference if someone wants to know how to write Ansible playbook for OpenStack. Let me share that link as well to everyone. Okay. Now let us try to install MySQL. Once this is installed, I will change the bind address to 127.0.0.1 because MySQL is running on the same server, and Keystone will also communicate to the MySQL which is running on the same server. So 127.0.0.1 localhost IP address is enough actually. It is not needed to bind to the interface IP address. It's not needed. ENP0S3. So that is actually not needed. So I'll go with 127.0.0.1. Okay. After that, we need to create this particular file. This file will not be available. We have to create this, and we have to add the same entries except this IP address. Okay. After that, we need to restart the MySQL. Now, in this installation process, MySQL will take an empty password. It means without any password, you can log into the MySQL database. But after that, I will try to set a password for this as well. Okay. Let me do it in step-by-step order. Now you can see MySQL package is installed. So now we are trying to create this particular file. Okay. And let us add entries like this. Under this section, MySQL D section, we are adding the key value pair. Okay, here instead of this, I want to add 127.0.0.1. Save this file. Okay, systemctl restart MySQL. So now with the new changes, your MySQL has been updated. After this, I want to secure my installation, which means that I want to set a password. Okay, which means that if I execute MySQL now, you can say I'm directly logging in. I don't want this. I want to set up a password as well for the root user. So in order to do that, I'm using this command, MySQL secure installation. If you remember in OpenStack, in Kubernetes, I used to show the MySQL installation with the environment variable called MySQL root password. Okay, the reason behind this is this one. Now, I hope you understood why I used to give MySQL root underscore password. The reason behind this is nothing but your MySQL by default, it will take empty password. Okay, which means that without password also you can log into the database. So enter your current password for root, enter for none. So we don't have any password, so enter. Now it is asking you, do you want to set a root password? Yes. So capital Y. Now it is asking you to set a password. So the password is test123, which I want to give common. Now it is successfully set. Do you want to remove anonymous users? Yes. I don't want to use anonymous users. And disable root login remotely. Right now, no one wants to log into the database. Even your Kubernetes also will not log into the database. Okay, it will only interact with the Keystone. So remote login is not needed. So I will disable that as well. Okay. Do you want to remove the test databases and all? Yes. Why? Because those test database which are created by your package, I don't want that. It should be removed. So why? And reload the privileges table now. Means what are the changes you have done? Do you want to apply now itself? Yes. So why? Now you can see your database was successfully installed. Okay. Now, once the database got installed, just click on Memcache queue. Memcache queue is nothing but actually internally when the components are communicating with each other in OpenStack, they will use a messaging queue. So we have so many messaging queues like ZeroMQ, Cupid, RabbitMQ. There are so many other messaging queues. Among this, RabbitMQ is the recommended one for OpenStack. So let us try to install that. Okay. So to install, just click on this. After this is installed, we need to create a user called OpenStack, and for that user, we are setting some password. Okay, and after that, we are trying to set the privileges. Okay, read, write, execute access, both the access. Okay. So once that is done, I want to set my own password. So that's the reason. Now let's try to set the password. For all the passwords, I'm giving test1 to 3. Okay, I don't want to create any confusion. Now the user with the password has been created. Let me try to set the permissions for that user. Okay, now the permissions has been set successfully so that he can access the entire root directory, root file system of your data, your server. Okay, now what I want to do, after this installation, you need to install memcache. Memcache, why we need this particular component is nothing but whenever in the keystone, whenever you try to authenticate, it will generate some token. That token will be stored in memcache server. Okay, so memcache is a cache server which will store that particular tokens. Okay, why it cannot be stored in the database? Because this token will be generated continuously and this tokens should be expired after 24 hours. So it is hard to interact to the database, which will create a lot of load on the MySQL database server. So that's the reason they have used a different component to store the tokens. That is nothing but memcache. Okay, so this memcache, the tokens will be expired after 24 hours. Okay, none of the token will be after 24 hours. It will be expired in 24 hours itself. Okay, so to install that particular components, you can follow this document. Okay, let's try to install. By default, it will be listening on 127.0.0.1. I'm comfortable with that. So I'm not going to change anything. If you want to make it to listen on a different IP address, then you have to modify this particular line in this particular file, memcached.conf. I don't want to do that. I'm okay with listening with 127.0.0.1 for my setup right now. Okay. After this, let us try to restart. I have not done any changes, but let's try to do a restart. Okay, now all the minimum things which are needed, the prerequisites which are needed for your OpenStack Keystone is done. Now what we need to do, we need to install OpenStack Keystone component. So just click on that particular link, install OpenStack services. Here, if you scroll down, we are trying to install Stain. In the Stain, you can see identity service, which is nothing but Keystone. You can see here, Keystone installation for Stain. Keystone is called as service name. Sorry, identity is called as service name. Keystone is called as a component name. There are two namings actually, component name and service name. Keystone is called as a component name. Identity is called as service name. So both are same actually. Now click on this particular link, open in a new tab, just for my comfortableness. Then go to this particular Ubuntu section and then go to the install and configure. Okay. Here, first we need to log into the database and we have to create one database called Keystone. Why? Because Keystone related information should be stored in this Keystone database. Okay. So for that reason, we need to log into the MySQL. Okay. Since you are on the same server, you are able to log in without the password as well. But if you try from the remote server, empty password is not allowed. So that is one thing you have to remember. Okay. Now let me try to create a Keystone database. Done. After creating this particular Keystone database, I am trying to set some privileges to this particular Keystone database. Means I am trying to create a user. For that user, I am setting some particular password. Okay. That's how it is. And next one is nothing but same password. Okay. For same user. Okay. What is this? Let me try to explain. Grant all privileges, read, write, execute, whatever the privileges we have in the database. Try to give all the privileges on Keystone database. Keystone.star in the sense, under the Keystone, you will create a lot of tables, right? So under that Keystone dot star in the sense, all the tables to whom we need to give this permissions for this database, Keystone user. Okay. We are trying to create a Keystone user with localhost. He can try to access with localhost IP address identified by password. So this is the password for this user. Okay. And the next command is also same thing. Instead of localhost, he can also communicate with the host entries which are present in the /etc host file. Okay. So that's the reason we give this percentile symbol as well. Okay. So that is the reason behind this. So once this is done, then you can come out of this particular database. Tables will be created automatically when you execute one command. I'll tell you when it will create a tables automatically. But before that, we need to have a Keystone database. So that is what we have created right now. Okay, and Keystone database and the user with the password. Now let's try to install the Keystone package. Okay, so apt install Keystone. This Keystone will be installed from the Stain repository. Okay, whatever we have created. You can see there are so many packages. It will take a lot of time. Once it is done, there are only few modifications. That's it.
It's a privileges for single user or multiple users.
Only single
Privilege
user.
given,
You
right?
can see here, right?
After
Here, Keystone.star, in the sense, under the Keystone database, there will be so many tables which will be created later. Okay. For all the tables under this Keystone
okay.
database, for this user, only Keystone user can access this particular database. Okay.
Yeah, if I want to
Root
give
user,
2 or 3 more numbers.
then you need to re-execute this command with a different user. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. By default, root user can access any database, any tables. But Keystone, we are trying to create a separate user to access the Keystone database.
Okay.
That's it. Why? Because we need to update in the configuration file, Keystone configuration file. That's the reason. Okay. Let it get installed. Once it is done, try to open this file. This file will be existing. Just open this Keystone configuration file. All the Keystone related, what are the component you have installed, that particular component related information will be stored under /etc Keystone. Under that, we are trying to open keystone.configuration file. Okay. Keystone.conf.
Hi Sudhir, I have a question. Where
Yeah.
you have created the Keystone user? Is it created by default?
It is created in the database. Okay.
Okay.
This user
No.
is stored in the Keystone database.
No, that command is to create a user also. That command is given
This
to
command is used to create a user in the database and give the access to the Keystone database. Now, in this Keystone installation, this is different and this is different. Okay.
Thank
This
you.
is for database access.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Let me open the configuration file. This is already existing. So we'll have so many entries. Under this, we need to go to a section called database section. So how to go to that directly? Give a / bracket database. You went there, right? So try to comment out this line and add this line, whatever it is showing you right now. Okay. So this option will try to communicate to the Keystone database. Let me try to explain this. Okay. Keystone is nothing but a user. Okay. For Keystone user, whatever the password you have set, we need to give that particular password. Test123 is the password which I gave. You can give, instead of controller, you can give 127 IP address, right? It can communicate to 127 IP address as well. And /Keystone is a database name. Okay. This is Keystone user. Okay. For this Keystone user, this is the password. He can access with localhost IP address for this Keystone database. Okay. That is what we are trying to say. That is the entry we have done under the database. After this, we need to go to the section called token. Here we are trying to use a Fernet token. So Keystone supports a lot of token types. Initially, we have used UUID, UUID, PKI, PKIZ, so many other tools actually. Now, in the current releases, they are using Fernet token because it has a lot of advantages and it is secure. Okay. So let me try to go to that particular section called token. Token. Give enter. Again, give N. Press enter. Press N. It will go to the next search. Okay. Next. So now you can see a token section here. Here you need to update your parameter called provider is equal to token, Fernet token. Okay. Then save the file and come out. Once you are done with the changes of the configuration file, now you are executing this command. So what this command will do, this command will contact to the Keystone database and it will try to create the tables based on your configuration file, whatever you have made. Okay. Now this command will create a tables for that particular Keystone database. Okay. You will see nothing. You will see empty output. If it is not able to connect, it will show you some output like unable to connect to the database or something. Then you need to go to the configuration file and revisit and see what mistake you have done. Okay. In this, it is successful right now for me. Okay. So these two commands are related to Fernet token. Just we need to execute this. No need to worry right now. In our case, just we are creating a user called Keystone and Keystone group for a Fernet token. Okay. After this, just execute this command. So this command is important for us. Let me copy a different node. Let Let me try to open a notepad, okay, in the browser. So this is trying to create an access. We are trying to create an endpoint. So endpoint is then some URLs in order to connect to this particular Keystone service. Okay, that is what we are trying to do. So Keystone will be listening on two port numbers. One is 5000 port number, sorry, 500 port number and 35357. Okay, so these are the two port numbers. Sorry, 5000 and 35357. Okay, here instead of this, I want to update my IP address 192.168.1.130. Okay, so 192.168.1.130, and here also 192.168.1.130. Okay, after this you need to set the admin password. So test123. Okay, so here in this Keystone we are trying to create an admin user with the password under the region called region 1. These are the endpoints: admin, internal, and public. So these are the endpoints which Keystone will try to, Keystone can be reached. If you want to reach to the Keystone, this is the URL which you need to use. Okay, so my Kubernetes has to communicate to this particular Keystone. So I will be using this URL to communicate. Okay, remember this point. We'll be using later. So execute this command. So I'm okay. Done. Done. Okay. So once it is done successfully, then we have to update the Apache web server, and then we have to create. That's it. We are done almost with the Kubernetes setup. Now we are done. So let's try to open the Apache web server, because for Keystone it will use Apache web server. I think it's actually not needed, but anyway. Server name instead of controller, I will make it as 127 IP address. Okay, and then restart the Apache web server. Once it is restarted, now, so these are the things which are needed for you to access the Keystone. Okay, so you have to pass admin, username, password, project, domain name, project name, so authentication URL. So this is the URL which we have created earlier, right? You can see here in order to communicate to the Keystone. And this is the identity API version 3. So we are using a latest version called 3. So these are the important for us. So let me try to copy this and save here. Actually, I will try to remove this. It's not needed. I need to update only one thing, that is password. Rest of the things will be same. So here the password is test123. Now execute this command, and your endpoint is 192.168.1.130. Okay. So copy these commands and just execute it. So then you are good to go. Now if I execute OpenStack command, OpenStack endpoint list. If it is successful, whatever the details you have passed is valid, then it will give you the details. Okay. Now we can see you got the details. So this command will try to contact to the database, and from the first authentication will be done. Once the authentication is successful, then it will contact to the MySQL database, and then it will fetch the data. Okay, that's how it works. Now let me try to save this particular details in the file, OpenRC file. OpenRC file. Save this file and come out. Okay. Now if I execute source, let me try to exit from here and re-log into the server. See, these commands what you have executed, it will be only available till that you have logged into that particular terminal. Once you log out, again you have to re-execute that command. Instead of that, what I have done, I saved this particular data into a file that is called as admin OpenRC file. Now, in order to apply that particular details, you need to give source admin OpenRC. Without doing that, let me try to execute OpenStack endpoint list. It will fail. It will ask me pass the authentication URL. It will ask so many details. So instead of that, I need to give source admin OpenRC file. Now, if you execute this command, it will give you the output. Now you can see it's working, right? So similarly, if you want to see OpenStack user list, so how many users you have created right now?
Every time I have to open and then I have to give a source command, right?
Yes, of course. Of course, whenever you log into this terminal for the first time, you have to give this. If you are already logged in, then you can execute the commands. For every command, it is not needed to give the source command. Okay, that's one thing you have to remember. Okay.
It won't run as a service, right? Backend service, it won't run, right?
No, see, for Keystone, the backend service is Apache Web Server. Okay. This is important. For Keystone, the backend service is Apache Web Server. This should be running in the background, and MySQL should be running. These two are important for us. This should be running, because without having MySQL, how your OpenStack will fetch the data from the database? Okay, that is not possible, right? First, your actual service should be running, and then the database, obviously, it should be running by default. Okay. Now your setup is done related to OpenStack. Now we use this particular OpenStack setup for your Kubernetes authentication. Okay. Any questions still here? Or else we need to jump into the OpenStack, sorry, Kubernetes. If you want to create additional users, then go to this particular document. If you want, you can create more users and like roles as well. Okay. Now in this, what happened? It will create admin user. There will be admin project, and there will be admin role. Okay. Remember these points. Role is admin. Project name is also admin. Project, or it is also called as tenant. Okay. And the username is also admin. Okay. So who did this command? Actually, when you executed this command, right? Which one? When you executed this command, automatically it will create those admin users. And C is the ultimate user to access your Kubernetes setup. Sorry, OpenStack setup. Okay. Now we are done with the setup of OpenStack Keystone. Let's try to spin up the Kubernetes right now. You can see almost it took 1 hour for us to complete the setup manually. If you use something like Playbook and all, right, obviously it will take maybe 10 minutes, not more than that. Sometimes even it will be 5 minutes. It all depends upon the network speed. So I'm trying to spin up these VMs. I will log into only master. Okay. No need to log into the worker node. So totally we are using 3 nodes, 2 nodes for Kubernetes setup and 1 node is for OpenStack setup. Okay, so that is what we have done. Now for this, I created a document. So obviously, so I'll be sharing the document. Each and every command which I executed, I gave the output as well, so that you can use as a reference. How I did for networking, right? Docker overlay networking, same. I did this. The only thing is like watch the video and replicate it. So you can see in the document, I gave the link. Okay. What are the links you need to follow for OpenStack setup? And I gave watch the video for better output. Okay. So these are the few commands which I gave you as an output. Okay. For reference. And this is the Kubernetes setup which we are doing right now. Okay. It is not that tough actually. So let me log in. Now, if you remember the previous class which I've told you for authentication, in the Kubernetes authentication, we have seen certificate-based authentication for a user or a group and service account-based authentication. Now we are trying to use username password based authentication with the help of OpenStack Keystone. That is what we are trying to do right now. Okay. So now my Kubernetes has to interact to the OpenStack setup in order to do this authentication and authorization mechanism. So that is what I'm trying to set up right now. So let me try to see if I have unnecessary pods running. If not, I need to remove it. Okay.
Sudhir, you're saying about parts, right? Parts is a container or
Pod is okay. You are from new batch, right?
yeah, new batch only. Yeah.
Okay. Pod is something where it's nothing but a container, but logically it will do some additional things what container cannot do. That's a thing which we added in the Kubernetes. But ultimately it is a container. But pod is something where in Kubernetes it will try to do some additional things actually. Okay. Like
Additional things in the
logically
sense?
in the pod we can create multiple containers. Okay. It will try to group multiple containers, not only one
Okay.
container. We can create 2 to 3 containers in a pod. Logically it will try to add this logically it will try to group this particular containers under one platform. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
how.
If container crashes, what will happen? For example, four
See,
containers are
if
there.
you
If
have
one
4
container
containers in a
crashes,
pod, nothing will happen to the pod. Pod will be in running state. Only that container will get restarted based on your restart policy. If you give restart policy always, then it will try to restart it again. Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, why I'm getting this? Did someone got the control access? I see like. Is it me who has done this or someone else? I don't know.
Sorry, I mistakenly clicked on
That's
it.
okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. Can you clean up actually?
Yeah, let me do. Actually, I am not aware of it.
Oh, okay, okay. I am thinking like how I got this.
No. Sorry.
That's okay, okay. No issues. Let me try to remove this unnecessary pod which I have. What it is trying to say, it is saying like, oh, still it is not up.
The kubectl. What is kubectl? It means.
kubectl is a CLI tool which is used to interact to your Kubernetes setup. Okay.
Okay. Get all will display all the containers, right?
Yes. You will not see the containers. Actually, it is a pod. In the pod,
Okay.
you can have one container or multiple containers, more than one as well.
Okay.
You can see here in this, we have 2 containers. Why? Because you can see /2. 2 in the sense 2 containers actually in this pod. Okay, coming to the point, let's try to do the setup right now. Okay, you can see the same nodes. For this demo also, I'm using the same Kubernetes setup. Okay, these two nodes. These 2 nodes are using. I've used a Kubernetes setup version called 1.18.6. You can see this version. Okay. Now let us try to install one particular package. So in order to interact, Kubernetes has to interact to the Keystone, OpenStack Keystone. For that, it should use some particular package or binary. Actually, it should use some particular binary in the backend to communicate, to execute some particular commands. So that binary now you can, it is available as a package right now. Directly you can install on Ubuntu operating system. That is called as Snap. Okay. So directly you can execute this command. This command will try to install client keystone authentication package. Okay. Once you install, I will tell you how it looks. So this is a binary which will be installed. This is important for us to interact, for your keystone to interact to the keystone. Once it is done, So now we can say this is installed. You want to know where it is located actually. You want to know this binary where it is located. So this is important because you have to update in the configuration file, config file, kube config file. Okay. So which client keystone auth? It will tell you the binary location. You can see it is under /snap bin client keystone auth. When you're trying to install some particular utilities using snap utility like snap command, this will try to save under snap bin. You can see client keystone authentication. Okay, so this is important for us. Once it is done, now let us jump into the actual creation. So in the Kubernetes setup for Keystone, the first thing is like you need to create a policy. This policy is something where you will update the details of the user and what are the roles assigned to that particular user. Okay, in RBAC, what we have done in RBAC, what we have done, we used to create some particular role, and in that role we used to specify what resource he want to access and what are the actions he can perform on that particular resource. Now we are trying to create a policy. This policies will be used by your Kubernetes in order to interact with the OpenStack. Okay, so now I'm trying to create a policy called this particular policy which I'm trying to create. Okay, this is a version 2 model. You can also use version 1 model which looks like this. There are two ways to write a policy, and this policy I'm trying to create through config map under kube-system namespace. Okay, so this is the config map name. Here I updated my policy, and this policy will be used by your what do we say, webhook. Actually it is called as webhook. Here you can see the username is user project name is admin and the role is admin. Resource permission in the sense he is trying to access from all the namespaces, star in the sense all the namespaces. He is trying to access pods. What he can do: get, list, watch. He cannot delete or he cannot create. Okay, so that is the one thing you have to see. He cannot create or he cannot delete. Okay, so let us see. So first of all, let me try to create this particular config map. So I will create a separate directory called client keystone. Okay, move to that particular directory. I want to save all the YAML files in this directory, so that's the reason. So config map -2 in this is version 2 config map, okay, dot YAML. Okay, so user is admin, users project is admin project and the role is admin role. Okay, so this is what we are trying to update. Now save this file and come out. Okay, so which means that users under this particular project who are having this particular role can access this particular resources. Okay, that is what we are trying to convey. Once it is done, let us try to create this. So kubectl create -f config map. Now this was created successfully. If you want to see that, kubectl get config map / the config map name and give -o YAML. Oh, it is under kube system namespace, right? So -m kube system. You can see this output. Okay. Now this was created successfully. After this, what we need to do, if you want to use older version of V1, version type 1, you can execute this particular one. Both will work actually, nothing will change. Only the pattern got changed. How to write a policy file, it got changed. But the functionality is the same. It will work in both the conditions. Okay. Now, after this, we need to, we have created the config map and all. Now we need to generate some certificate. So this certificate will be used by your service. Okay. So when you install a webhook of Keystone webhook, that particular Keystone will be exposed as a service. That service will be using a certificates in order to communicate. So in order to generate the certificates, we are executing this command. Okay, and this certificate is created using the name called. You can see the name. This is a service name. What is the service name? If you look at this, service name is KTS-keystone auth dot a namespace called kube-system. So that is a name which is used to generate this particular certificates. Okay, now enter. Now if you see, their certificates are created. Key.pem, certificate.pem, both are created, right? Now, their certificates, you have to create a secret. Using the certificates, you have to create a secret. So let us try to do that. Now you can see it is the same location. So you can see kubectl, create this particular certificate secret in this namespace. Create secret TLS is the certificate kind which we are using, and the name of this particular certificate is keystone-auth-certs, and cert location and key location. Okay. Now your secret has been created. Okay. Once that is also done, then we are trying to create an RBAC. Okay. So let us try to create an RBAC right now. So yeah, this RBAC will be used by your this service account RBAC will be used by your Keystone webhook. Okay. RBAC -sa.yaml. Now you can see in this RBAC what are the permissions we are giving for this particular service account is he can access config maps, get, watch, list. Okay, so this is what he can do. So these are the permissions which we are giving for him. Whoever is using this particular service account, he will get this access. He can access config maps, get, watch, and list. These are the actions which he can perform. Okay, so let's save this file and come out, and let's try to create this. So kubectl create -f RBAC. Now this is created. Once this is successfully done, now we need to deploy the actual Keystone webhook. Okay, so we are trying to deploy this as a deployment with replication of 2. Okay, and we should also expose this particular deployment using a service. Okay, so these are the two things which you are doing. Here there is one important thing which you need to update. Let me show you that. Let me try to create a file called keystone-deployment. Let me try to say deployment-keystone. .yaml. Okay. Now the important parameter is under this, you need to update your actual endpoint of your Keystone. How you'll come to know it? You executed this command, right? OpenStack endpoint list. In this, you can see the endpoint. Okay. Okay. So this is the endpoint which you need to update, so that this particular deployment will contact to this particular pod will try to reach to that particular Keystone. Okay, OpenStack Keystone. Okay. So just save this and create. And this is trying to create in a Keystone-system cube-system namespace. Okay. After this, I need to create a service as well. Okay, I am exposing that particular Keystone deployed using a service with a cluster IP. Okay, and you can see the port numbers which they are using 8443, which is secured. Okay, I'll try to create this. Okay, why we are using secure connection? Because if you go to the deployment Keystone, here you can see we are using certificate-based communication. These are the certificates which we have created, and this is used by your pod. Okay, those certificates are copied under this location, and this is used by this. Okay, that is one thing we have to remember. Once that is done, just verify whether all the things are created as per the expectations or not. So kubectl get pods -n cube-system. I need to search with k8s. You can see these pods are up and running, and there is a service as well. Let us try to verify it. Okay, so everything is created as of now. Whatever we have done, it was created as per the expectations. Nothing got failed. Everything is running smooth. Now what we need to do after this? Okay, so let's go back and let's try to generate some token and see whether we are able to communicate to the Keystone, OpenStack Keystone, from our Kubernetes or not. So in order to do that particular testing, go back to the keystone. Okay, try to execute a command called OpenStack token issue. It will generate a token. Okay, and that is one thing. After that, execute this command. This command will try to print the service IP. This command will try to get a service IP of this particular service. Where is the service? Yeah, here it is. Sorry. You can see this is your service, right? So this is the service IP which will be stored. Now, actually, this command should be executed on the Kubernetes, not here actually. Sorry, my bad. You need to execute here. Okay. So if you try to see this, oh, I need to install this particular package called JQ. Install that. Since you are executing this command, right, it is expecting for JQ to be installed, a package. Now we are trying to verify from the Kubernetes whether we are able to authenticate to the keystone or not manually. Okay. After that, we will try to run it as a pod, the authentication mechanism. Initially, it will be bit confusing actually. So once you understand by step, once you watch the video for multiple times, then you will understand what we have done exactly to achieve this. Okay. Now, actually, we are trying to get the service IP. Okay. I can directly copy and save it in this particular service underscore IP itself. I'm using some shortcut command to do that. Now, if you try to see that $service, not to see the data which is present in this, you can see the same IP or not. Okay. And one more thing is like whatever the token it got generated here, let me copy this and save it in the variable called token. Okay. 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 So these two things will be used here actually for testing purpose. So now execute this command for testing. Now if I execute this command, okay, it should give me the successful output from the keystone. Okay. Here you can see we are passing the service IP. Okay. And then here we are passing the token. So once I pass it, it should give me the details. Oh, I need to install this Python because we are executing Python command, right? So there is no Python package installed. So try to install the last one, Python-minimal. These are like initial setups, nothing to worry. So I'm executing this command on the manager node, okay, Kubernetes manager. Now let us try to execute this. You can see you got a response from Keystone. Okay, you can see you got the UID, username admin. Okay, these are the roles: reader, admin, and member role. Okay, this is the project name, and this is the project ID. Okay, authenticated true in the sense it is successful. Okay, so these are the user details. Now you can see the domain ID, and domain name. Okay, everything is successful. It means now your Kubernetes is able to authenticate to the keystone. How we verified? We pass the information to the service. Okay, KTS keystone auth service, and that pass the information to the actual Kubernetes OpenStack keystone. It is successful right now. This is authentication. Let us try to verify authorization as well. Okay, let me try to update. I think it's the same thing. Let me try to update the project. What's the project ID? You can get it here. Update this particular project ID over here and here as well. Okay, I think groups we have here. Okay, let me copy this same thing. Okay, and let me try to execute this is for authorization. Okay, it will tell you whether you are authorized or not. Okay, so just enter. What happened? Oh, I copied like this. Okay, so that whatever okay. What I need to do, just I need to I need to remove the spaces now. I need to remove 2 spaces. No worries. 2 minutes, okay. Okay, let me execute this. It should tell me whether I am allowed or not. Means permission. It will tell me whether it is true or false. False in the sense you are not authorized. True in the sense you are authorized. Okay. You can say allowed true. Means you are authorized with this particular details. Okay. You are able to access to get the pods. Okay. Let me try to give delete and see what it will try to give. Verb in the sense delete. Okay. Let me try to re-execute this. Oh. Oh, it's not proper output. It's not proper JSON. How come? Delete is fine. Okay. Here it is giving a different. Okay, now it's. Now we can say false. Why? Because as per the policy, config map file, if you see, you are not allowed to delete. You are only allowed to get list and watch. Okay. When I gave my authorization to delete the pods, it gave me false because you are not authorized. Whatever the role it is. Okay. Similarly, I can verify for create as well. If you see this, you are not allowed. Okay. Only for list, watch, and these things are allowed. Nothing else is not allowed. Okay. This is the verification we should. Now we are done that. Okay. My Kubernetes is able to authenticate to the keystone, but we have tested it manually. Right. So now we need to create a bridge. Create a bridge in the sense now I want to update my Kubernetes cluster saying that go and interact to that particular keystone. Okay. So for authentication and authorization. So how to do that? This particular mechanism is called as webhook mechanism. Okay. So till now we have seen RBAC, node role and all, right. Now we are seeing webhook. Okay. Let us try to create that. So you already have a service IP which is already updated. Now just execute this command. So this command will try to create a config file. Oh, again it's same. Let me try to remove the spaces. I forgot to copy actually. Mistake. Okay. Now if I execute this command, what will happen? It will create this particular file. Okay, this file is not existing. Let me show you practically. Kubernetes under PKI. I don't have this file called webhook config.yaml. It will try to create this particular file and it will add these entries. Okay, that is what it is trying to do, and it will update the service IP. It will replace with this IP. Okay, so let me copy paste that. In the bottom, I gave you the output of that particular file as well. Okay, if you want, you can see that. Okay, if you want to see that practically, cat that particular file. Okay, so once it is done, now go back to this. Now we need to try to create a. Now just we need to update to the Kubernetes API server that use webhook as an authentication mechanism. Okay, so what we have to do? So let me try to open this file. So your keys kube API server manifest file is present under Kubernetes manifest Kubernetes API server.yaml. So this is the file which you need to open. You can see here. I'm just trying to open the same file. Okay, and what you need to update? The yellow marks which I have shown you. So those are the things which you need to update. Okay. So come here. Okay, here what I need to add, first thing what I need to add is nothing but this one. This is the location which I'm trying to say that webhook is located under this location, which we have created just now, right? And one more thing is nothing but webhook config file. Same file location, but with a different parameter. Okay, one is for token and one is for webhook. Now here under authorization mode, we need to give webhook. Okay, webhook. Just give comma. Done. So now when I save this file and come out, okay, Kubernetes will try to recreate this particular pod. Which pod? Kubernetes API server. So then when it is recreating, what will happen? You will not able to access API server. So save this file, come out. That's it. Nothing to do. Just save this file and come out. Now if you execute kubectl get pods, you will see it will not allow. Why? Because your API server is under recreation process. The pod is getting recreated. Okay, with the new changes what you have done. So let us wait until it is done. Once it is successful, then we can verify our authentication. Okay. See, clearly I highlighted with yellow marks. Just verify that. Just as you can see, just now created. Look at the age of the pod, but you can understand whether it is really restarted or not. Okay. Now it's working. So which means that it came up. So how to verify that? -system. Now we can say this pod was recreated. You can see 25 seconds, which means that it was just created. Okay. Other pods you can see 27 days, 31 minutes, 31 minutes. This is a keystone auth, right, which we have created today, 13 minutes ago. Now we can see 25 seconds, which means that it is just created. Okay, old pod got deleted, new pod was created with the new changes, what you have done in the manifest file, the changes which you have done. Okay. Now what we have to do? Now I need to update my kubeconfig file. Now everything is done. Now I need to go back to my kubeconfig file. Where it is located? Kubeconfig file. Now here I need to update to authenticate to my keystone. Okay, OpenStack keystone, right? So let's update that. Manually you can update or you can update through commands as well. So let me go here. Here I need to update my user details. So as it is, you can copy paste. Just copy paste this. I will tell you what need to be changed. Here OpenStack user is the username which I gave, name which I gave for this user. And here exec in the sense you are trying to execute arguments called domain name is default. And this is the URL. This is your keystone URL. Okay, whatever the URL it is, you need to update here. How you'll know the URL, which I already told you. This is the URL. Okay. Now that is one thing. And one more thing is like other details are nothing but you need to write the environment variables, name, OS user, OS password, OS object, project name. Okay. So you can see test123 is the password for this user. Okay. These are the things which I passed. After these users are updated, I need to update the context. Why I need to update the context? Why? Because I need to tell this user should access this particular Kubernetes cluster, right? So I need to update the context as well. So this is how I need to update. Okay. Once these two details are updated, if you come out of this, if you execute kubectl config get -context. Sorry. Now you can see you have two contexts. One is for Kubernetes admin and one is for OpenStack. Okay, let me try to shift to this and let us verify the authentication and authorization. Okay, so Kubernetes config use -context. Now you can see you have switched. Now let me try to get the pods from all the namespaces. Pods -fn all -name spaces. You are able to fetch, but let me try to fetch the deployment or any other thing apart from pods, because you have given only access to the pods, right, for this user. Now you will see some issue. What it is trying to say? Forbidden, which is expected. Why? Because as a user, admin user, you are not allowed to fetch the data related to deployment. You are only allowed to access the data related to where is the file? You can see you are only allowed to access the pods, not the deployments. Okay, so that's the reason you got a forbidden error. For the admin user, we got the forbidden error. Okay, even if you want to search more, if you try to give a config map, this will also fail. Only the pods. In the pods also, let us try to create one particular pod and see whether it is failing or not. In the pod section, there is a YAML file. Pods, you can see the pod YAML. It is trying to create two containers in the pod. Okay, so this is how it is. So this pod, let me try to create and see whether it will allow me to create or not. So kubectl create -f pods pod. It will give you a forbidden error. Why? Because you are not allowed. Now I want to fix it. I want to give this user to create as well, not to delete but to create. Let me see how to give the permission. Just simple. Get the config file which is already created. Okay, this is there, right? Sorry. Oh, you are not allowed. You are not allowed to fetch the config map as well. So you need to shift back. If you want to do some changes, you need to go back to the Kubernetes admin context, and then you need to do the necessary changes to allow this user with delete access as well. Create and delete both if you want. Okay, what I want to do, let me change the context once again. So go back to the Kubernetes context. Okay, so now you can see this context. Now let me try to get the details. Now you are able to get, let me try to edit. In edit, what I want to do, I want to give create access. Okay, so edit, go here, just give create access. Delete, I don't want to give. Okay, when you apply the changes, it will apply to the actual Keystone auth policy pod. Okay, now let me switch back to the context, OpenStack context. Okay, now I came back to this. Okay, now let me try to create the pod. See whether it is allowed or not. Okay, now you can see you are allowed right now. It's working. See, I already switched to OpenStack. Now you are allowed. Okay, so kubectl get pods. So once it is created, try to curl the IP. You will get some data. So this is what I'm trying to add. This is the logs. So this logs will generate it for every 1 minute, 1 second actually. For every second, it will try to generate the log. Okay. So now let me try to delete this particular pod. Okay, and see what will happen. You are allowed or not. Okay, delete pod. You are getting a forbidden error right now.
Yeah, where are you getting the logs?
See, I just written the pod in such a way that it will update the logs in the container. In the Nginx container, when it will add this particular logs. Okay.
Okay.
That's a pod YAML which I have written. I'll update that particular testing one. I'll add this in the document so that you can refer it.
Okay.
I already added, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, I already added. You can see this, right? For testing purpose. Okay. Now you are not allowed to delete the pod. Okay. As a user, though, you gave only a permission to create, not to delete. So now I want to give a delete permission as well. So what I have to do, again, I need to modify the, what do we say? Again, I need to modify the policy. So now to modify the policy with this context, I cannot do it. I need to go back to the Kubernetes context. Okay. And then let me edit the policy once again. Let me try to add delete as well. If you want to give all the permissions on the pods, just give simple like this. Star. Okay. So save this and come out. Now let me go back to the context of OpenStack once again. Now you can see how I'm already logged into this context. Okay. You came back to this. Now let me try to delete the pod. Now you can see you are allowed. Okay. So this is how it is. The main thing is like whatever the users you have created in the Keystone, OpenStack Keystone, that users you need to update in the policy. Okay. This config map policy file. That's it. Nothing else you need to do. That's the only integration which you have to do. Understood, right? So this is how we need to use authentication of OpenStack Keystone to your Kubernetes cluster. Now this is a username password based authentication actually. Okay. Any questions in this?
Yeah, one question, Sudhir. So,
Yeah.
from where did you get the domain name? So, in the car.
This domain names, right? Again, you can execute here. OpenStack domain. By default, it will be default. Okay. When you create a default user domain list, these are the commands. You can see the domain name is default. Okay. And project name. Okay, admin project. Okay. And tenant is the actual old name. The new name is nothing but project. Tenant or project is the same.
Okay.
So you need to update two things, right? One is domain ID and domain name. Domain ID is like small letter. Domain name is capital letter here. You can see this. Okay. Usernames you already know. You have created a default user called admin. Okay. So OpenStack user list. Then, so this is how it is. Any questions? So this video and the documents, this document which I've created, I'll convert this into PDF. I'll share this document maybe by today evening or tomorrow morning. Okay. Everything I clearly documented this each and every step with outputs as well, so that you can refer whether you are getting the same output or not. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. You're asking something.
Yeah. So so we added this user configuration in the kubeconfig file, right?
Yes.
There we have mentioned the password in the plain text.
Yes.
I mean, like earlier you showed us.
So if you don't want that, okay. If you don't want that, let us try to do one thing. Open the config file. There's a config, kubeconfig. Just open this file. Don't give this password. Okay. Save this file and come on. Now, kubectl get pods. It is asking you a password. Okay. Let me enter the password 123. You can do in this way. If you don't want to save your password in the file, this is the better solution. Always or else export OS underscore. Good point, actually, you raised it. So test 1, 2, 3. You can do like this. You can, no need to pass it actually. Okay. These are the two ways to avoid of saving the password in the config file, which we generally don't do it actually. We should not save the password.
Okay.
Done?
Yeah.
Any other questions, or we can wind up the class? I think it's almost 1.5 hours.
Sudhir, for new batch will take again, or how will it be?
I'll give the same video. Again, if I teach also, it will be the same thing, right? So I will give the video. Once you have some idea of this authentication, you can go through the video at any point of time.
Okay. What is the tomorrow agenda?
Tomorrow agenda is like how to integrate your Containerd as a Kubernetes backend container runtime interface. Okay, instead of using Docker.
Okay.
Let me send the different meeting invite. This is not the meeting invite. Tomorrow I'll send. Today evening I'll send you another meeting invite to all the groups.
Okay.
Any questions, or we can wind up the class? I hope no. See, initially it will be a bit tough to understand this concept. Try to practice for 1, 2 or 2 times. Then you will understand. Okay. Thank you.